Next project up here is to swap out this motor and pump here on this tank. That's a 60-gallon tank. It just seems like a really small pump for a big tank like this. So I'm going to swap these out with this unit. This is an Ingersoll Rand. It's a little bit bigger, and I think it'll work good. We're going to put this out onto that tank, and I'm also going to swap out that motor. The only reason I'm doing the motor is this unit was running together, and I've already cleaned up this motor and replaced the bearings in it. So I know this one is good, and it's matched well with this pump. There's nothing wrong with this motor, but I'm going to switch it out anyway. So let's get started. So we're done with this assembly, and I've got this plate cleaned up, shot some fresh paint on there, and I ran off to a place called Tool Warehouse, and I had them bend up a new line and get a couple of fittings so that I can get that new pump lined up. So the new pump, the outlet is kind of in the back off to this side, so it's got to make this trip all the way around to here. So the guy bent it up while I waited. That's going to work out great. And while that was drying, I thought I would clean up the pump and the motor and shoot those with some paint. So I decided to use Oliver Green. I still had some left over from a vise that I worked on, and I really like this color. So now I'll just let this cure. So the pump is all set. And that's the motor that I replaced the bearings on, so this one will work good. So the next step is just start putting this stuff back together. So what's next? This is a pretty old tank, and I think I need to pressure test it before I put everything back together. So I've got it set up. I'm going to do a hydro test. So we do that by filling the tank with water and then bringing it up to, I'll probably bring up to 200 pounds per square inch pressure, and try to leave it for an hour, see if it holds pressure, see if there's any leaks, and certainly no ruptures. It would be far more dangerous to test it with air, or just to have it rupture, because there's a lot of energy there. But with water, it doesn't compress, and so it's a pretty safe way to test a tank. The way I'm doing that is I took the pressure switch off and replaced it with just a pressure gauge, so I'll know how much pressure I have in the tank. And then over on this side where I've got my check valve, I'll begin by taking this check valve off, and I'll fill the tank with water right to the top. Check valve goes back in, and then I put a series of reducers and then a pressure washer fitting, and I'll use my pressure washer to very carefully bring it up to the 200 pounds per square inch. Check valve should keep the pressure on it when I remove the pressure washer, and then I can just let it sit. So assuming all that works out, as long as it's out there and I've got water, I'll probably wash this down. I might pressure wash it. Let's get all the dirt and dust off of that. And shoot a coat of paint on there so it looks nice. So let's drag this thing out of here and get going. pounds. It's been an hour. I think this tank is in decent shape. It's all back together. Let's fire it up and take a listen. That's not bad. It is a lot quieter. I took it from 0 pounds up to about 140, which is usually about as far as I have this thing fill. It took exactly 6 minutes. And the old one was maybe 7, so it's not a big difference there to bring it up to full. But it's definitely quieter. And we'll see what happens when I start running some tools to see how well it can keep up. But I'm done with this one for now. I'll have to keep an eye on that tank. It is pretty old. Maybe someday I'll replace that too. Who knows? But right now it's looking really good.